Migration is pretty much zero now because of the international flight bans, and that means that one of the key levers in terms of propping up property in Australia was migration. That's pretty much turned off. So the population growth is much slower now ahead than previously. So underemployment, more part-time jobs, more gig economy work, right?
Yes.
More firms going out of business.
Yes.
That's being reported at the moment, and I'm seeing it all in my data already. So the jobs numbers are going to look pretty sick for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. That means there's no possibility of income growth, right? Mm-hmm. I actually think income is going to go the other way. We've got more mortgage stress today than we've ever had in Australia, despite the fact that interest rates are ultra low. We're seeing now the rise of mortgage stress not only in Queensland in Western Australia, but we're now starting to see it in areas in New South Wales and Victoria. 32% of households with a mortgage have some sort of financial shortfall each month at the moment. The global financial crisis taught us in the US that the property cycle takes 3 to 4 years to work through after a crisis. So you asked me, is this a short-term or long-term thing? There are short-term hiatuses at the moment running all over the place, but the property cycle is probably down for a 5 to 7 year down cycle at the moment. I mean, we hardly saw a wobble post the GFC. We had a few minor corrections, but the fact is that people have been reckless in terms of their ability to be able to actually afford those mortgages. The banks were reckless because they were actually lending at standards that were impossible. And now, of course, the Royal Commission has exposed a lot of the poor lending, the liar loans and all that. Lots of local factors that we can explore. But until we actually understand what's happening with COVID globally as well as locally, and the broader economic outfall of that, pretty much everything else is a pale shadow, because if in fact this rages on and economies around the world continue to buckle under its force, whatever we do locally here, it's not going to make much difference. I think we've moved into the next phase of unemployment. The first phase of unemployment were mostly short-term jobs, part-time jobs, casuals. And a few of those have now come back to work because, retail's opening up in some areas, et cetera, et cetera. But the structural unemployment, which is coming out of corporate land, big companies making quite big cuts in the number of people that they employ, that's accelerating. So a number of consulting firms, for example, have announced big cuts, and a number of other companies too. The point is that those workers, employers, are actually on very big salaries, and they are not going to be able to keep the same lifestyle that they had on whatever JobKeeper or even job seeker. And if the trade wars continues to develop as we perhaps expect they might, then effectively the trade with China could be affected as well. So I think that the next 12 to 18 months in Australia, we're going to see the economy go down, not up, which means that effectively I think, either take the money out now or leave it for 2 or 3 years and hope. If people are in more serious difficulty, then they've got to have other conversations, which include perhaps asking them to restructure the loan or asking them whether they should consider selling. So my expectation is we could well see in that 4-month window between, October, November, December, January, quite a rush of people realizing that they can't go on forever in this new mode where effectively incomes are under significant pressure or they disappear completely. They can't service those mortgages, and so there'll be some pressure being applied by the banks for them to sell. So expect more properties to come on the market. And I spoke to Eddie Hobbs some time ago. Eddie Hobbs is in Ireland, and he was there through the global financial crisis in Ireland when, of course, the same scenarios that we're seeing here were playing out there.